More indications have appeared that show Lebanese Prime Minister Saad Hariri is distancing himself from Saudi Arabia. Hariri, who's surprised by announcing resignation from office late last year after a visit to Saudi Arabia, has voiced strong support for Lebanon's Hezbollah movement. He has described Hezbollah as a part of his government whose presence, he said, was necessary for preserving Lebanon's stability. That was seen by many as a clear defiance by Hariri against pressures by Saudi Arabia to confront the popular resistance group. And by doing this, Riyadh appears to have failed in what looks like to have been a complicated strategy to harm Hezbollah.
And this is a very big Saudi failure. Today we know that Hariri is meeting with Hezbollah officials, and we know that also elections are across the corner, and there may be some sort of alliance in the next few weeks as it is coming. Of course, this failure and after he came back to Lebanon has many factors. And in my opinion, the first factor is that Hariri, when he was kidnapped in Saudi Arabia, it was President Michel Aoun and Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah who stood beside him and who asserted efforts to bring him back, and they made some sort of atmosphere on the international ground, and we know that France brokered this in order to bring him back. Of course, the second factor is the fact that his allies, his closest allies, betrayed him, and we know that Samir Jaja from the Lebanese forces, Senura, which was an advisor to him one day, and also Mr. Sami Jmayil from the Kata'ib movement, and also Ashraf Rifi. Therefore, he was stabbed in the back and betrayed by his own allies. And on the other hand, it was Hezbollah and Michel Aoun who stood beside him. So the picture was clear to Hariri that he is standing in the wrong position. That's why today he is much closer than ever to Hezbollah, and this is a really big failure for Saudi Arabia, and they couldn't really impose their policies as they wanted on Lebanon.
The Saudis appear to have a host of reasons to be unhappy with Hezbollah and its history of success in regional diplomacy. A main area in which the Lebanese resistance group is today internationally acknowledged to have been successful is Syria. Hezbollah has been in fact a strong driving force for a multinational campaign against Daesh terrorists that have waged a multiple-year war against the government of President Bashar al-Assad. The discontent of the Saudis against Hezbollah for its role in Syria testifies to a popular theory that suggests they support Daesh. The failure of the Saudis to harm Hezbollah through Hariri could sooner or later damage their diplomatic credibility. They will specifically suffer once they are judged for this failure by their allies as well as other Persian Gulf countries. Chances are therefore high that Hariri's support for Hezbollah has already sent a shockwave through the spine of the Saudi leadership.
Saudi policies have been hitting roadblocks, and their quagmires in the region for the past decade, if I want to be very modest, whether let it be in Syria or in Yemen or in Iraq, and most recently in Lebanon. So if we see these quagmires, these proxy wars, they have all come out to a failure. So therefore, yes, the Gulf states are really standing in nowhere. They don't really know where to stand, and the only option for them today is to really shift their policies, and we are starting to see closer ties with Iran, let it be behind closed doors, or we are also hearing public reports coming out that yes, some Persian Gulf states want to open ties with Iran, and therefore yes, with Hezbollah.
It remains to be seen whether the Saudis will act to take revenge on the Lebanese premier for expressing defiance against their pressure to confront Hezbollah. What many fear is that the angry sentiments of the Saudis against Hariri could turn into a new campaign of violence in the region. And with that in mind, a recurrence of what has been happening in Syria for the past several years in a new victim country like Lebanon is a likely scenario the world never wants to see.